Yes, it's just started raining. It's been threatening to all day, and now it's finally come down, which is, if you're not recording a podcast, so beautiful and pleasant and lovely and cozy inside.
All right.
I hope it's a lovely ambient sound in the background and not
All right.
noise ruiner.
I've been telling Tim off a little bit lately for a few audio issues, so he's just covering his butt there. If there's any problems in the background, it's not Tim's fault, it's God's fault.
That's right.
Yeah. Tim, this is episode 148.
That sounds like a lot, doesn't it?
It does sound like a lot.
148 times we've done this.
Well, more, really. This is the 148th one that has a number.
Oh, there's the specials too, aren't there? And
Specials,
the ones we've
all
made.
sorts
And wow, golly gosh.
But 148 is the number today. And so I was thinking, do you know what? Let's find a few little bits of trivia about the number 148. Would you like to hear a little bit of 148 trivia?
Is there any 148 trivia? It seems pretty arbitrary.
You're talking to Mr. Numberphile here, so I can make anything of any number. But it's the second number to be both heptagonal and centered heptagonal.
What does that mean?
I won't even bore you with what that means.
Well, hang on. Now, you can't just bring something up and say, oh, you wouldn't understand.
Well, basically, imagine a bunch of dots and turning them into a heptagon with rows and things like that. And you make the shape of a heptagon, a seven-sided figure, and you'd need 148 dots, and it's kind of like in that kind of realm. It's not that important.
Okay. Now I understand.
There are 148 perfect graphs with 6 vertices. There are 148 ways of partitioning 4 people into subsets, ordering the subsets, and selecting a leader for each subset.
The Brady fans are really going off at the moment.
Okay. Let's get one for your flock. The Book of Nehemiah. There are 148 singers, sons of Asaph, at the census of the men of Israel upon return from their exile.
Oh.
This, of course, differs from Ezra, where the number is given as 128.
Gosh. Wow.
But you already knew that, didn't you?
I knew there was a return from exile. I didn't know the number. That's about all I knew.
Who are the sons of Asaph?
I have no idea.
Oh, come on, you call yourself a Christian.
Yes, I do. No, but the litmus test for being a Christian isn't knowing facts about Old Testament prophets.
No, I was looking at, I also wandered into some website which I would not describe as Christian. I would describe it more as a bit spiritual and supernatural and personality types and zodiac and all that sort of stuff, if that's what you're into. And according to this site, the number 148 is an angel number. And if you start seeing the number 148 a lot, like on your odometer, or you look at your watch and it says 148 and things like that, you start seeing the number everywhere, that might mean your guardian angel is trying to communicate with you.
Oh, wow. Though I wonder if that's something that has a deeper root in mythology beyond this weird website you've looked at. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I couldn't get through all the dense text to get to why 148 was the number being used by my guardian angel. Maybe it relates to that Book of Nehemiah thing and the sons of Asaph and the 148 singers. I don't know.
There is some sort of cool angel mythology. Like traditionally, angels are said to speak German, which is kind of really interesting as well. But that has not so much clearly it doesn't have a biblical basis. But what does it mean? What does the angel number 148 mean? I'm just consulting my brain here. The angel number 148 is believed to be a message from a divine realm that symbolizes manifestation, abundance, and perseverance.
Yeah, but why 148? Maybe it comes back to the heptagon.
Give us the
because that's history. 7. Because that's 7-sided, and 7 is, the
perfect number,
heavenly, and
maybe it's a derivative. This seems to just interpret numerology rather than having like its history and etymology, which is the kind of facts we like.
Are guardian angels a thing?
What do you mean? Are they a thing?
Like, do you believe in them? Do we have we don't have like specified guardian angels like our kind of Secret Service agent?
To my knowledge, no. There's nothing in the Bible that talks about everyone being given like a guardian angel. That is a sentimentalizing of, the notion of angels in the Bible are messengers from God, and they're a thing. But if there is a God, there's no reason why there wouldn't be angels and that they wouldn't have particular roles. But if you saw an angel, you'd just about crap yourself. Like, it's not like a Cupid or a guardian in that sense.
And you wouldn't be able to hide it from the angel too, because I imagine they would have the power to know that you just crapped yourself.
I don't know if they have those sorts of knowing powers. It's all very...
Okay. So you could just sort of wiggle uncomfortably and they wouldn't know what had just happened.
Well, I mean, if you wiggled, I would know if someone in front of me was wiggling uncomfortably, wouldn't I? But you don't have to be an angel to work out that someone's awkward talking to you. But
you wouldn't necessarily know that I'd crapped myself.
No, you wouldn't know that. No, I don't know if they have effluent knowledge. But
or can they even smell? Can angels smell?
I don't know. One of my favourite films is Wings of Desire, which tells the story about, in black and white, of these two angels, and one of them wants to become human. And when he falls off a building and becomes human, the film becomes colour, and he's able to see in colour because he gives up being an angel. And so there's this notion
angels are colourblind. I never knew that.
Yeah, it's just sort of, I don't know if it's just a cinematic device, but it's something that certainly, happens. You give up things that humans aspire for to get the things that humans want. And I think things like taste and smell and all that are maybe part of that.
I don't quite understand why, if God is omnipresent and all-powerful, he needs angels. Like, why does he need someone to do tasks for him? He can do everything, be everywhere, and do everything all at once.
Yeah, but maybe he doesn't want to. He does do a lot of things. I mean, I could choose to deliver a package, but I could also have it couriered.
Yeah, but you do that because you have finite time and finite resources. God is not constrained in that way.
No, I know. Angels, what do we know about angels? We know that they're created beings, so they're not eternal like God. The understanding is that they were created. So they are, it talks about humanity as being a little less than the angels. So they have sort of a higher sentient sort of being notion to them, but not godlike.
Oh, so angels are above us on the pecking order.
Yes, in terms of their abilities. They're part of the supernatural world rather than the physical world in that sense. Whereas Christ became part of the physical world. That's the miraculous thing. God actually decided to be human. What else do we know about angels? We know that they have a particular role as messengers, like heralds. In the old Greek and Roman times, a herald was a person from the army that would go and take the king's message and deliver it to the other king, saying he wants to attack you now, and would go back. And angels have that, hark the herald angels sing. That's like they have a herald message.
Can I tell you what I'm feeling? I think it's all a fiction, right? As you know.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't, if God's real, I think angels are still a fiction. I think angels are a human construct used to tell the story of God. They seem like something God wouldn't need, but help humans understand. Like, you're using the analogy of heralds and armies and things like that, and it's a way of helping humans understand stuff they can't understand.
Yes, they are. And even the name angel is the word that we've come up to describe something that happens. So you think about, let's say if God's real, he would have done it himself. How? How would God communicate to someone? And you would say, well, God might speak through their dreams. Yes, he does that. Or he might speak through a physical event, like a burning bush or a storm, or, and go, yes, he does that. Or through a rainbow. Well, yes, he did that.
Or a great big dude with wings.
Yes, that's right. Well, I think a great big dude with wings is, of course, medieval art, putting something onto what's described as a messenger in the Bible.
So the Bible doesn't say that Gabriel or Michael had wings?
I think it does in the apocalyptic literature. So the book of Revelation, it goes into those sort of descriptions. But remember, the book of Revelation is symbolic language. So it also talks about a great dragon when it's actually referring to Caesar Nero coming back. And it talks about, beasts, and it talks about elders in the throne room. So it's using deliberately metaphorical language, which would have been totally understandable to the Jewish people at the time. So it would be So we take that and we run with it, and then we look at an Iron Maiden album cover, and then we look at a medieval, painting, and then we look at a film and we go, oh, this is what an angel looks like. But actually, the Bible speaks of them being messengers, and that might be a way of God speaking a message to someone with a sense of his presence in an event that's blinding light or through a person, and you can go with that what you will. But I think it's not as easy as saying, oh, there's this made-up creature that flies down and talks to people. I think we're trying to find, the Bible's trying to find a way to speak about something real happening that, you're right, ever since we load all sorts of other images and cultural baggage onto.
I have a Christian family member who claims to have once seen an angel. They referred to it like as their angel, not like a guardian angel, but an angel in the room with them. And it was a man wearing a plain brown suit. And in fact, that family member referred to the angel as Mr. Brown.
Right. Well, and if that's helpful for them, then that's great. It's actually more of a dark blue suit, but they were close, and so we'll count that on this occasion.
No wings, just a brown suit.
Yeah. The last thing, the Bible, it does talk about angels turning up in terms of people. In other words, people will come into your life. You talk about driving down the road, your car breaks down, you pull over. Oh my goodness, what's going to happen? Suddenly someone appears who happens to have the very thing you need for your car. You turn around to thank them and they're gone again. People talk about experiences like that. And that kind of experience is described in the Bible. That is, when you've been kind to people, particularly who are strangers from far away. And it says, you may not have known it, but you were entertaining angels. So there is that notion of someone turning up and them, you know what I mean? You thinking they're, and this is actually a really beautiful idea, because you don't just welcome someone who looks favourable, but let's say you welcome a refugee or someone from another culture or someone other people are scared of, and you go the extra mile to be hospitable and welcoming, and you didn't know it, but actually, you know what I mean? You were entertaining angels. That's kind of it was far more significant than you even imagined.
Has it ever occurred to you that I might be an angel?
No. You might be a very flawed angel.
Yeah, I'm deep undercover.
To be fair, though, I've never thought of you as a demon either, though. So that's, just right. Swings and balances. So that's cool.
What was that TV show about the angel? That guy, the guy that was in Little House on the Prairie? Was it Almost an Angel or
Michael Langdon? Yeah, Langdon?
Michael Land.
Oh, no. Highways to Heaven or something.
Highway to Heaven, that's it.
Yeah.
Highway to Heaven.
Yeah.
I loved that show.
I did too.
He was just a normal dude who was an angel.
Yeah, just walking around. There's a John Travolta movie, Michael, as well, which is one of the crapper John Travolta movies, of which there are quite a few, amongst a few.
Anyway, Tim.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes I'm a podcast idea machine.
Right.
No matter where I look or what I do or what I think about, there's just a podcast just comes into my head. I can't help it. Maybe it's my unmade training, but it's just who I am.
Maybe it's your guardian angel. You're being fed ideas, man.
Maybe. While I was doing this 148 research, I found another fact about 148, which I think you will find very interesting and has given me an idea for a podcast, and that's going to be my idea today for the show.
Yep.
First, let me tell you the fact. The fact is that the number 148 is known as Dunbar's number. Who is Dunbar, I hear you ask?
Who is Dunbar?
Okay. His name was Robin Dunbar, and he was a British evolutionary anthropologist. And he was looking at things like the size of human brains and monkeys and all this sort of stuff. And he decided that 148 was like the maximum number you could have in like your social group, your circle of acquaintances, beyond which point you kind of lose the ability to function effectively and have social relationships and know who everyone is and how everyone's interrelated. It's kind of like the maximum number of people you can be acquainted with and know. And in common parlance, most people use the number 150 for that number now when talking about this particular area of research. But his actual number was 148. 148. And it was broken down a bit more. The feeling was you could have 5 intimate friends.
Right.
15 good friends. including the 5 intimates.
Yep.
50 friends, and then you go up to this 148 for acquaintances.
Yep.
So it's the number
with 2 plus 1s. That's right. 2 of those people bring their new boyfriend along, or something like that. Yeah.
Hence the 150. Yeah, a couple of plus ones, just in case someone comes to the wedding who wasn't expected. Yeah,
that's right.
So anyway, there's a lot you could talk about here. There's conflicting research as well. There are other numbers. There's a Bernard Kilworth number, which could be about 231. I've also seen 290.
Right.
I've seen lower numbers. I've seen higher numbers. But the number 150 or 148, whichever you prefer, the Dunbar number, is probably the most famous. It was made particularly famous in Malcolm Gladwell's book, Tipping Point.
Oh, okay.
Really, which put it into the... So I've got... By the way, this is like... I don't often talk about my other... Well, I do talk about my other projects.
All the time. Mm.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
You mentioned number file earlier.
Yes, true. I was reading the Wikipedia page about Dunbar's number, and you know how they have on a Wikipedia page they'll have like uses in popular culture of this topic and stuff. So I was thinking, oh, where's Dunbar's number being used in popular culture? I'm really interested, and it had Malcolm Gladwell's book Tipping Point. And it had a couple of other references. And then it said, episode 103 of the podcast Hello Internet features Brady Harron and CGP Grey discussing the reasons why. Oh. And I was like, and so I'm on the Wikipedia page about Dunbar's number, and I seriously have zero recollection whatsoever of having spoken about it, having known about it. And I was like reading this page thinking, this is fascinating. I never knew this. And then on the very page, it said, I'm quoted as someone who's spoken about it. So for those of you who are saying, Brady, you've talked about this before, I know I have, but I have no recollection of it whatsoever.
That's fantastic.
So this is a fresh conversation for me. What are your thoughts, Tim? When I say this to you in this number, do you have any feelings or thoughts?
Oh, I like that. That's the way I think about that is in relation to the church. This notion of how many people can be part of a community, and there's an idea that says that local church congregations kind of over time, if they're not renewed and if new people don't become Christians and all of that, then they settle into a certain size that's around everyone feels they need to know everyone. And it's really hard to then come in. If it sits like that too long, it atrophies and people feel like going to church is something where they should know everyone. And then it's really hard for the church to grow beyond that because it becomes so domestic. Yeah. You know what I mean? New people feel like they're breaking into something that's a bit too formed. There's not open. It's not absorbent enough. And so that's a really interesting idea like that. Yeah.
And is that number around 150 or?
I always think of it, the stat that I have in my head, which I've no doubt read in a book somewhere, was 80 people in that you should know... you can generally know about 80 people. Now, that might be through your primary community. Like that might be, you might know 80 people through it. Like if you belong to a church or another sporting club, you're automatically going to know more people than you would if you didn't. You know what I mean? Like if you go to work and come home and live your life, it may not be 148. If you belong to a third place community, that's not home or work, that's like a cricket club or a football club or a church or community group, well, immediately that expands it and it makes it a little bit more dynamic. So
it's interesting. It's interesting. It's interesting you say that because if you read a bit more about Dunbar's number, a number of businesses have actually taken this into account, and they deliberately make the size of their workplaces, their offices or their open space offices and that are about 150. Like it's actually being used in the design of, I don't know what the word is for designing workplaces and communities, but they use this as well. They think if you have an office that has more than 150, it starts to cause problems. So, but they're using it as a positive thing, whereas when you talked about it with the church, it was almost a bit more negative, like it has a downside.
Well, partly, I guess, in a church, you're forever wanting to engage new people and bless new people. It should never be looking inwards. It should always be looking outwards. So you want to get people into the mindset that they don't have to know everyone at church. You know what I mean? That they're part of a dynamic, multiple series of smaller communities that might actually grow and expand. They don't need to exercise control. It's funny, or mental control over who's that person, or I didn't know that person. They just need to, bit like, it's the difference between, I think, living in Adelaide and living in Melbourne. Like, living in Adelaide, I walk around with a little bit of an expectation that I'll probably bump into someone, or if I bumped into them, if I met a stranger, it would be one or two persons. Maybe, kind of, we could find a point of connection somewhere, is what I'm saying.
That's kind of you, though. Like, just to be clear for everyone listening, Adelaide is a big city. How many people live in Adelaide? 1.5, 2 million? I don't know.
Yeah, 1.5 or 2 million, yeah.
So it's a lot of people, but Tim does bump into someone he knows everywhere he goes in Adelaide. I do not. Well, I think this is more you than me. Like,
so maybe it's an illustration of my mindset. But when I'm in Melbourne or someone else, I give up that expectation. I walk around not thinking. You think about myself as a small fish in a big pond, whereas other times you go, oh, who else is in my pond? There's a sense of familiarity or something about the size.
When I started thinking about this number, 148, 150. There was also a school of thought, of course, that the advent of social media has kind of skewed this number a bit.
Oh yeah.
But we don't need to go there. I was wondering, does 150 sound about right? Do I have 150 acquaintances? Could I name 150 people? I mean, I could name more than 150 people, but who I would consider acquaintances, and it's kind of sounded about right to me. Like, and then I thought, no, Tim's would be way higher than that though. Like Tim would go way higher than that, but it did. It's 150 is normally what I aim for, like for Facebook friends and things like that. But
where
does that number sound like to you?
I think it sounds about right. I actually wonder if they use that number on the algorithm of Facebook, in that you might be, I'm friends with, I don't know, like 1,000 or a few thousand people on Facebook, but a few thousand people don't evenly rotate through my feed. So maybe they go, well, hang on, every person, you know what I mean? There maybe is generally 150, and maybe there's a smaller lot that come through again and again. I don't know. So they might use it in that sense. I'm trying to think of an event where you would be able to use it to categorize. So let's say you're having, like an intimate dinner. Okay, that's your 5, right? Then what event would have the 50? What you said there was about 50 at the next band out, is that right?
Yeah, 50, 50 friends. 50 is the next number, yep. And then there's 15, and then there's 5.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, so there's
50 friends, 15 good friends, and then 5 intimate friends.
So 15 good friends, it'd be sort of, you can imagine a getaway or some sort of party or dinner party.
Ski trip.
Yeah, that kind of thing. The 50 is probably the funeral. It's...
I think 150 is the funeral.
It depends how young you are, I think.
50, yeah, of course, yeah, if they're alive. 50, I think, is maybe the wedding, because then you've got the plus ones and the family members you kind of have to ask and stuff. So maybe 50s, because you don't ask all your acquaintances to your wedding, but maybe 50s, interesting.
I think 150 is the tragic funeral, and I think the 50 is the end of life funeral, if I can put it in those terms. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes. Anyway, so podcast idea. Like when I started looking at this, my mind just went to podcast ideas. How could this be an unmade podcast idea? And the initial idea I had was a 148 episode series where you interview each of your acquaintances. My 148 acquaintances, and you talk about each one. Like, that would be quite. You'd have to have a pretty compelling host, because if you said to me, I want to tell you about 148 people I know, I'd be thinking, all right, that sounds pretty boring. Yeah. But if you had a compelling, funny host, or like a comedian or someone really good,
there's a few things that immediately come to mind I want to jump in on here, because I think one of the rules needs to be that none of the people are allowed to hear an episode that another person's done. They need to come in fresh. Otherwise, they're going to do, well, it's pretty much like everyone said. He's, a nice guy and he really loves, tennis.
Oh, no. I wasn't thinking the acquaintance talks about the host.
Oh.
I think the host introduces the acquaintance. So each episode is a new person. It's not now here's yet another person talking about Tim from their perspective. Because that would be I think that would be a little bit monotonous.
Well, totally.
Yeah, I think it's more, hi, I'm Brady. This week I want to introduce you to Bill Smith, who I know through the chemistry department at Nottingham, and he's been doing chemistry for 20 years, and he's got a lovely family, and today I want to tell you all about him.
That's a great
idea. Next week I want to tell you about my friend Jim, who I play tennis with.
Yes.
Yeah.
You just call it my friends. Yeah, that's right. Or my circle or my 140. Yeah, that's a really great.
My 148 acquaintances. Today, number 73, Jane Doe.
They're not surely in order. You don't have to rank them.
No.
We're going to build up to number one.
No, but here's the other. But speaking of which, when I told my wife that I was thinking about this as a podcast idea just before she went off to work today, she refined it to an even better idea. So I don't know whether you want to use the 5 intimate friends or the 15 good friends. Maybe the 15 good friends. Right, and this is more along the lines of Desert Island Friends. We so often talk about the radio show Desert Island Discs here on Unmade, where a guest comes on the show, they choose, I think it's 5 or 6 songs, 5 or 6 of their favourite songs.
6 or 7, I think.
They talk about each one, and then at the end, they're required to choose one. They say, okay, they're your 7 songs you're taking to the desert island, but if you could only take one of the songs, which would it be? So there is like a moment at the end where you really refine down to what the number 1 song is. So I like the idea of my 15 good friends that I would take with me to the desert island, and then at the end, the host says, all right, now you can only take one. Who's it going to be? And to be fair, that's not necessarily saying this person's my best friend. It's just the person that I'd want to be stuck on a desert island with, and that can be 2 different things. For example, I'm sure you would take me and your 15 to a desert island, Tim, but I'm not sure you'd want just me for the rest of your life on a desert island. So
I might want someone a bit more handy. I don't know.
Yes, yes, true. Or less irritating.
Yes, or handy.
Yes, yeah.
Of course, one of the rules in this, you can't take your partner. That's you got to take them off the board straight away. Yeah,
yeah. So I thought that was a good idea too. Desert Island Friends. Wow. But I think this messing with this notion of circles of friends, acquaintances, sizes of circles of friends, I think is good podcast fodder.
It is good. And it plays into that childhood game of, you're always analysing who your friends are and best friend and this second, third best
used
friend.
To make
and
that
all
list.
that.
Yeah, that list. 1 to 10. Yeah.
The next time you have to really commit to that, I think, is the wedding, because you do have a best man and a groomsman and, that kind of, there's a small band there that's involved.
Yes. There's the hierarchy comes, and then who gets to read a speech and who gets to witness the signatures and stuff. So there is all this sort of pecking order. Yeah.
It brings to mind things like siblings, though. Often a person might have their brother. So are you able to include siblings, or maybe they're put in the same category as a partner, where you might put them to one side, or you could. I think the older you get, you either are close friends with a sibling and not so much with others, and I don't know. I don't have any sort of close siblings like that. I have siblings who are much older.
I think choosing your brother as your best man, not having a brother, I can't comment too much on it. And I can see why one would do it, of course. But I also think it's a really clever move and a safe option, because it does take away that whole having to choose between friends problem.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But for instance, Prince William, right? He had his brother as his best man, and I'm not sure he'd take him to the desert island right at the moment. I think he'd make a list.
No, I don't think he'd have him at the wedding right now. So. Yeah. Anyway.
This is a really good idea. This is a really great idea. Yeah.
There's lots of good stuff there. Lots of good stuff there. I like that series, my 148 acquaintances, or my 50 friends, or my 15 best friends, my 5 intimate friends. Who knows?
You could start doing one and then cut it down. I remember when, I think it was Obama had his 50th birthday during the COVID time, and they invited 300 people, and then the rules changed on the COVID regulations and he could only have 100. So he had to uninvite 200 people to his 50th birthday. And there was a whole thing about people that were sort of, You know what I mean? At 1 minute had all the status in the world, but then suddenly realised they were in the 2/3. Not in.
Yeah.
It's like I've been disinvited by Obama, and it's like, oh, jeez, Louise. And Pearl Jam was playing. It was an amazing party, apparently. But
maybe we could make a special. You know how we do the request room, and all the Patreons get to listen to that. Maybe we could do a next tier request room, and we just choose 148 patrons who we want to listen to it. Send it to them individually. 148 favourites.
Wow, like arbitrarily, or like a level of patron support, or you mean just totally we choose them, or just pick out the ones we like?
I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know.
Do you have a favourite patron? Do you have 5 favourite patrons?
Tall Jeff comes to mind.
Tall Jeff? Is Tall Jeff a patron?
Is he still
there?
I
Some
don't
Jeff
know.
Is Tall Jeff? I don't know. We've got Some Jeff and Tall Jeff. I know Some Jeff is a patron because we've got a question from him in the request room today. But
I think Micah's a favourite. He's a definite favourite.
Micah, he's a good patron. Every time I've met him, he's been wearing an Unmade t-shirt. Respect.
Yes, that's right. Legend.
Okay, it's time for Tim in England as we jump into the DeLorean, hit 88 miles per hour, and go back to Tim's visit to the UK earlier this year. And in this particular episode, Tim and I are on a drive. We're on the motorway, and we pull into a motorway services, a place where you stop to eat, and we go to KFC.
Tim in England.
We're both pretty hungry, so we're going to go for some motorway KFC. That's as dirty as it gets.
So, just to be clear, the fact we're hungry is the primary reason we're doing this.
Right. Yeah. So there's a Subway here, a Starbucks, a WH Smith, which will sell magazines and sweeties and drinks.
It's interesting comparing the Colonel at a proper KFC and then one where this is like a leased outlet as a part of a collection on the side of the road.
What, because it hasn't got its own building, it's not a true KFC, if it's not completely self-contained.
I'm not saying it's not a true KFC, it's just my expectations in terms of quality aren't quite as high.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like it is not like top tier if it's part of this food court almost.
And I'm sure they're not like taxing it in from a proper shop somewhere else. I think they're actually making it here. It's legitimate, but here we go.
All right, here we go. Eat in. You're going to order yours separately?
Yeah.
All right, Tim's ordering his.
We've gone to these.
What am I going to have? I'm going to have
massive touchpads.
I'm going to have a Zinger burger. Tim's over.
We're going to eat in, yeah?
Yeah, eat in. So Tim's over ordering.
Okay, what do we have? Now, I am feeling today like a Zinger burger. Oh gosh, there's a lot of burgers here. Zinger stacker. That's going a bit far. I'm going to have a Zinger burger. Make it a meal.
We're basically having the same thing, but I've done mine as a meal deal and you've broken yours into its constituent parts.
Is it a significantly different amount of money?
Yeah, you're paying about £2 more. Let's do this. That's your chicken. That's my chicken. What piece did I get? Oh, I've got a drumstick. I was hoping for a drumstick.
Yeah.
What have you got?
I don't know, two nondescript kind of.
I'm just so hungry now. I'm not really thinking about podcasting. I'm just eating the food.
Oh, yeah, I forgot we were recording. The muscle memory just goes in. I don't like these chips. These are a real disappointment.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
What's wrong with them?
They're just plain, and there's no real taste to them. Not
enough spiciness.
No.
I've finished my Zinger. I'm going to try one of these little mini bits of chicken that you got. So you're just about done with your first piece of original recipe. What's the thought?
I can't put my finger on it. There's something different.
The flavoury skin part or the chicken itself?
No, the flavoury skin.
Yeah.
That's the only bit that matters.
Right.
But I don't know if it's because we're in a motorway or it's because we're in the UK.
Right. I'm onto my original recipe too now. I don't even know what piece this is. What piece have I got? Is that a breast or something?
I don't know. They're sort of nondescript shapes at the moment. Well, look, that's pretty good. The chips are a disappointment.
Yeah. Okay.
It's fine. It's a little bit different. Zinger burger was lovely.
I'll always go with Zinger over the chicken because it's also a cleaner eat.
I agree.
Now let me try some of these chips that you've belittled because I know KFC chips are important to you and you think it's one of their strengths.
Yeah, these are wrong. That's weird.
Oh yeah, they're not seasoned right.
I could have stayed at home and eaten a potato.
I've had KFC chips recently elsewhere in the UK and they were nicely seasoned. These are not seasoned. I don't think they're seasoned at all. I think they've made a mistake.
You never know when you're going to get in a secret customer like us, an expert, undercover, these other plebs might be happy, satisfied with this, but then royalty, KFC royalty walks in the door like us.
The one day they forgot to season the chips and it was the day KFC royalty arrived.
They'll be kicking themselves later after I write another letter to the CEO.
There will be a letter of complaint. Let's take a picture for our letter of complaint. I feel like we should write it to headquarters in Kentucky.
In Kentucky. Like not even in the UK.
No.
Go right to the top.
Yeah. I think they're dishonouring the memory of the Colonel.
This could have repercussions for the UK's entire franchise operation.
There we go, Tim. Does that, Tim? Obviously, we recorded that, but like, what are your memories of the visit? Has it stuck with you, or has it sort of faded a bit in your memory? Have the unseasoned chips, scarred you?
Upon my return, I was asked by my daughters, whether I had KFC and what it was like, and I reported accurately the way I felt and that you just heard. It was good to be back in Australia and to have the proper chips. That was incredibly satisfying, and it makes me think twice about ever travelling to the UK again. To be honest, if it wasn't for the Belly Buster Challenge, I wouldn't go back at all.
I am normally, of course, your KFC chips are seasoned, even here in the UK, and I've always thought you overrated KFC chips. I've always thought that.
Really?
And I remember a few months ago I was at a KFC and I was having some chips and they were just nicely seasoned and they were just well done. And I thought, these are good. Tim's kind of right. They like when they're done well, they are good KFC chips. I don't think they're often done well though. Like it's rare, but when they get them right, they are absolute top shelf.
I have and as it has been with chips, so it too will one day be with angels, I'm sure. I have to say I rarely have the chips. I usually have one or two as a bit of a break. But one of the reasons I give myself, I have KFC as a treat meal is I go, well, I won't have any carbs. I won't have the chips because I just love the chicken. And that's a way of justifying it to myself. So I don't often have the chips, but other family members sometimes only order the chips. No, I'll just have a small chips, that's it. So that I steal a couple of theirs.
I feel like at the moment I'm going through a real chicken wing phase. Not KFC, just like if I'm somewhere that does chicken wings, like as a tapas or something like that, I always order them. I'm in a real chicken wing place at the moment. And they're not necessarily wings, of course. They can be little drumsticks and that, but you just refer to that blanket as chicken wings. But just little bits of chicken. I'm in a real zone at the moment of craving them a lot.
Are you meaning like the American way, the buffalo sauce and that kind of way?
Yeah, usually with a sauce, a hot sauce of some sort on them is usually the case, yeah. Sriracha or something like that, yeah.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, I'm in a real zone for that.
Well, thanks for sharing. No, that's great. That's a nice zone to be in for a while.
It is. Phases of life, like Picasso's blue phase and things like that.
That's right.
Is my chicken wing phase. Yeah,
chicken wing phase.
My chicken wing period.
That's a bit like every American during the Super Bowl. You're just sort of having your little season of chicken wings. I once, when we were getting chicken wings one time, I was explaining to my young daughter about what a shame it is that there are so many chickens running around without their wings because they've been taken and cooked up.
Nice.
Which was a believed and horrifying thought for a few seconds.
And by the way, we will write to KFC to complain about the unseasoned chips, and we will let you know if we receive a response. But by the way, there will be a request room associated with this episode. So if go onto patreon.com/unmadefm if you would like to listen to it. If you're a patron or become a patron, they're always really good fun. We've got some great questions for today. And we've actually had a request to do another one of our Imagine the Phone Calls. So we might even do one of those, a bit more role play. So
oh yeah, that was good fun.
Yeah, so we're going to have another one of those and answer some other questions. So check it out. But in terms of prizes this week, where we give away key rings and spoons and cards, we're not doing it this week because Brady's disorganized and wasn't able to run his powerful computer algorithms to spit out the recipients. So this week we're going to have a little break from that, and we're going to go straight to an idea from Tim. And Tim, as I understand it, the idea we're going to talk about with you again just falls out of serendipity and conversation and just our propensity to have podcast ideas at every turn.
Oh, it was. It came out of a conversation we were having last night on text message. And this idea is, I'm going with the name Skippy.
Skippy.
You may want to change it at some stage.
Not the bush kangaroo of the Australian TV show Skippy.
We were talking about episodes of The West Wing last night, and we were talking about scenes, but mainly episodes that we go back and watch, but then ones that we skip.
Yes.
So we're going back to your favourite TV series, whether it's Seinfeld or whether it's Beverly Hills 90210, or whether it's Melrose Place or The West Wing, which are just the sort of four that we mentioned over and over here on the Unmade podcast, even though I'm sure we watch other television as well. You're following it through, and then it's like this episode, and it starts, and you go, no, I'm skipping.
I can do it from the title too, because I'm currently doing a revisit of The West Wing, which is why I'm constantly texting Tim about The West Wing, much to his annoyance, I'm sure. Almost every day I've got something new to say. And I as I look through the episodes, I just look at the title and I'm like, oh, I remember that one. I remember that. Oh, no, I remember that one. That one was rubbish, and I could skip it. Because you can do that when you know a series really well. So, yes. I prefer the name Skippable to Skippy. But,
I do too. But I thought I'd mention Skippy up front because it's...
So how does the podcast idea work? Is this, how does this become a podcast?
Yeah. Well, people certainly can... There's a couple of ways it can work. One is you get different people on to talk about, the things that their favourite series, but the episodes that they skip and why, because I think that can be telling as well. It would be also interesting to get in people higher up the ranks, so like producers or people that were in a particular series, and they can admit to the ones that they would suggest you skip. So a way of identifying some of the weaker episodes that they say, well, actually, number 4. But then as was thinking about this, it could move into other areas as well, because everyone knows the experience of highly recommending an album to someone, but saying, don't start with track 1, start on track 2, or skip track 4, or the second half sucks, or something like that. There's just the dud or something that you just falls out of place, that's wrong. And so naming and exploring why it's skippable is interesting.
One of the reasons I like this idea so much is there are lots of podcasts that, will lionize or will sing the praises of something someone likes. I love this show. It's so brilliant. This is why it's brilliant.
Yep.
And there are lots of podcasts and ideas that involve ripping something to pieces and saying why it's crap. But the beauty of this is it feels like most of the time you would have someone talking about something they love, their favorite TV show, their favorite album.
Yep.
But then focusing in on something about it they don't like. So it's like, I love The West Wing, but I hate this episode, and this is why I hate it. But I love the show, so don't take it the wrong way. Yeah. And I think it's really interesting to have this kind of critique and deconstruction and talk from someone who loves the thing.
Yeah.
Like it's a slightly different perspective.
This can be overdone. Like people can say, you have to watch Parks and Recreation, but you got to get through the first 3 series or skip the first 3. It's just like, what? Are you serious? Like they've.
It's a slow burn. I do that a little bit sometimes with books. I really love I've been recommending the 3-Body Problem book series to loads of people lately, but I always have to say, the first few chapters, you got to push through. Please push through, because it gets really great after that. It's like,
Well, a classic example of that is Blackadder, where the first series is absolutely rubbish, and they knew that and revisited and changed the whole character in seasons. 2 is amazing, and 3 and 4 is some of the funniest television ever made.
All right, Tim, give me one of your absolute favourite albums and the tracks you skip from it. What's something skippable on something you love?
The one that came to mind, it's a favourite album, even though I'm not a massive fan of this person, I listen to it a lot, and that's an album by Bruce Springsteen called Tunnel of Love. And it's the album that he made after Born in the USA, which was like, mega album, and the one where everyone knows all the songs. This was a big hit too. This is the one that came right afterwards and has about 2 or 3 songs on his greatest hits. And but the first song is I just can't do it. I always start on track 2. So I can't even remember the name of the first song. I think it's called because I never listened to track 1, so I don't even remember the name of it. But
is it because it's not good, or is it just because you want to start on such a high and then you would never think to go back to track 1?
It's called Ain't Got You. It's because the whole album has a similar mood except track 1. Track 1's kind of like this beboppy kind of rock and roll-y 1950s rock and roll kind of song. And then track 2, it settles down to a song called Tougher Than the Rest, which is like a good medium-paced, kind of nice, warm Bruce Springsteen song. And all of them sort of after that are all like that. And the first song just feels like it's on the wrong album. It's just doesn't fit at all. So that's the first one that came to me. It's skippable. So I highly recommend, do yourself a favour, Tunnel of Love by Bruce Springsteen, but skip track 1.
Is there any track you skip on Achtung Baby, the U2 album?
You're saying that because I've said before that it's my favourite album.
It's a great album.
I probably skip Mysterious Ways.
No, that's a great song.
Do you know why?
Do you skip that because you've heard it too much, though?
I was going to say, there's reasons for skippable, and over-familiarity can be one. There are episodes of The West Wing you go, oh, well, I've just seen this too much, or I know it's lost its mystique. So I think Mysterious Ways was around a lot. It's quite a simple song. It's only got a couple of verses and then it's that wow, bout, bout thing that goes on.
And you will
on.
skip it. Like if you're listening to that album, you will make the effort to hit skip.
Yes,
that's how you feel about it.
Yes, I would. I have many times. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Mysterious Ways. Even though it was like the second single. And I think it's a good song, but it's just like, I feel like and that's the problem with singles as well, isn't it? I don't know if that's such a problem these days, but when your first single comes out, it becomes a hit, you hear it, and then you buy the album or listen to the album, it feels out of kilter with the rest of the songs. You know them at a certain level together, but that one you know really well, and I often do that with an album. We'll skip over it.
What about TV shows you love that have an episode that really rubs you up the wrong way? One that springs to my mind is, and I don't have particularly strong feelings about it, but I know it's a good example, is the TV show Breaking Bad, which is like a fantastic show. I absolutely adore it. Has this episode where, is it a fly, an insect? I think it's a fly, is stuck in the lab where he's making the drugs, and he spends the whole episode trying to catch it, and like, there's no real narrative or plot to the episode. It's just him trying to catch a fly, and it's a bit like, what? I think they were just being arty and experimental.
Oh, right.
And it just like it just doesn't take the narrative anywhere. And it's just like, well, why am I even watching this? That's one I think it's polarizing.
Yeah, there's a few series that do that. They do somewhere 3/4 of the way through the series, they decide to do like a documentary episode where they look at this character from a different angle. And I remember MASH did that once. There was like a documentary maker came in and made a documentary about the camp and all the characters.
Yeah.
It was a bit arty-farty. And there's
MASH also did the thing where Hawkeye, the main character, like goes to see a psychiatrist, and there's like these like meaningful, and it's almost like just him looking at the camera, I think, like being not like a normal MASH episode.
And he's got flashbacks to someone killing a chicken and stuff. It got a bit it's almost like the laughs aren't funny enough, so they started to do a try and go a bit deeper.
I think the writers and creators just get bored making the same stuff all the time. You see it on YouTube channels. I'm guilty of it sometimes. I just want to make something different, and I just want to, flex that part of my brain that I'm not using. I don't want to make the same thing over and over again. And so you do it for yourself, but the viewers who have signed on for something else are like, hey man, stop making those ones. This is not what I signed up for. Just keep making what you make. That's what we're here for. And it's like, well, yeah, okay, but indulge me for just one, please.
I remember when REM finished up as a band and they were looking back over their career, and the guitarist Peter Buck was saying, look, I'm pretty friggin' happy with all the albums that we made. They made 18 albums or something. It's pretty good. He goes, there's a couple of duds, but he goes, look, even Bob Dylan's got a couple of duds, like And you go, yeah, fair cop, the greatest songwriter of all time.
Yeah.
Same with Paul McCartney. There's a few duds. You're not going to listen to all his albums and go, oh, wow, this is a Beatle. You're just going to go, this is pretty crap.
That's a good podcast name, A Couple of Duds.
A couple
where you
of
pick
duds.
A great creator and choose 2 duds that they made. A couple of duds. Today we've got John Lennon. Here are 2 duds from John Lennon.
Okay,
today we've got Steven Spielberg. Couple of duds.
You took the words right out of my mouth. What are Steven Spielberg's 2 duds? What's skippable for Steven Spielberg in your mind?
Oh, the latter Indiana Jones has got some dud stuff.
Oh yeah, but he didn't direct them, did he?
I think he did. He did the Crystal Skull, didn't he?
Oh right, okay, that's a worry.
Yeah, he's got a few duds in there.
What's that one where the Ferris wheel comes off and rolls through town? I think it's one of his early ones.
Did he do like 1943 or something? Or it's a one that's got
yeah.
And that's the year. The name is a year. Spielberg. Let me have a look because otherwise people are going to be screaming at the 1941. Sorry, 1941. Yeah.
Right.
1943 was a video game I used to play. What else is here on this list? Spielberg list that's no good. Schindler's List. What was it? Saving Private Ryan. To be fair, Steven Spielberg has got a pretty good list. I think he did direct Crystal Skull. No? Yes, he did. He did direct Crystal Skull, so he can have that as a dud. 1941, I think a lot of people think is a dud.
I never saw Ready Player One. I don't watch a lot of his films anymore.
I didn't mind that. I liked the book and I thought the film was all right. I haven't seen Adventures of Tintin. I don't know about that one.
No, neither have I.
Steven Spielberg has got a couple of duds, but not many more than a couple, so he'll do all right.
What about Tom Hanks? Dare we look at Tom Hanks?
Well, Tom Hanks will have plenty of duds. That one that he did for Netflix about social media or something, I think it had Emma Watson in it. That was definitely a dud.
Oh, yeah, based on the book. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's true. There's a lot of really top shelf films. And then, like the Polar Express, I've never got all the way through that otherwise. Inferno, I got bored with that too. Turner and Hooch holds up. Oh, The Circle, that's
like
right.
a couple. Yeah, The Circle. I liked the skippable idea, but I like how we've evolved it into a couple of duds. I like that idea even better. I mean, even the Unmade podcast, if you go through our 148 episodes, I'm sure you could probably find a couple of duds in there.
Oh,
you're probably sitting through one right now.
That's right. This one, the last one, maybe the one before that.
Anyway,
I think it would be great to get the person in to talk about that though as well. Like it would be great to have Tom Hanks come in and say, "What's your favourite film that you've made?" But also, what's a couple of...
Give us a couple of duds.
I
tell you what, you can't do that until your podcast is huge. You've got to make your podcast so huge then that stars will start coming on it because you got the runs on the board. You couldn't do that from the start.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. They're not going to come in and be, I mean, Hanks is humble and this is the thing. Truly great people, they're not so precious. They'd be humble about it. Yeah, well, it didn't quite come together. The difficulty that they face, of course, is that a film isn't wholly his piece of work. It's a whole community of people. So coming on and saying it's a dud is a way, it would be hurtful to a whole range of people, even if he might say my own performance maybe wasn't up to the scratch of some others. You don't want to you know what I mean? You don't want to come on and bag other people. That's not nice.
Before we finish the episode and go off to the request room, here's your final challenge. You've got to do it quickly. Give me a couple of duds from Nick Cave.
Albums or songs?
Just give me a couple of duds.
He made an album called Nocturama, and it's generally regarded as his worst album. But it came in such a strong period. It only came out about 20 years ago, and it's pedestrian. Some of the songs are pedestrian. So, yeah, Nocturama. He's also got a song...
Give me one more dud.
One More Dud is a song he sang at his last concert that he was here, and I don't know why, because he was choosing just really important songs, and then he chose that one called Wide Eyes, I think it's called Wide Eyes, and it's just, it didn't make me feel anything.
Couple of duds.
Couple of duds.
All right. Thank you for not making me choose 2 of my videos that are duds.
Well, I was trying to think of a hero in your life that I could pick, and then I wouldn't make it. You choose from your own work.
No. And now we're off to the request room. If you're a Patreon supporter or are about to become one, come on over. We're going to have some fun.
Is that a strong enough ending, you reckon?
Yeah.
Okay.